Mayday.
Oh my God.
Get ready.
Okay, so you know how it works. The drill is very simple.
Right. So welcome to Opinions with myself, KG. And thank you so much to everybody who's been supporting and downloading and streaming on all your major streaming platforms. It really goes a long way. It helps us a lot. But what I appreciate the most is the feedback that you give. You tell us if this thing works or if it doesn't. I mean, because then we're just here in front of cameras talking, and it's not working for you. We're doing a series on parenting. And last week we had a guest talking about raising men in the parenting space, as opposed from a parenting perspective and from a broader community perspective. And we thought we'd move the conversation along and start to speak about something that really is, I suppose, one of those things that you'll only understand if you are going through the experience. And oftentimes there's a lot of judgment from us who are on the sidelines looking at other people living through that experience. And that is single parent dating. We're all human beings. At some level, we all want to connect with other beings on a romantic level. It gives us a sense of significance. It gives us a sense of feeling loved. And so nothing about becoming a single parent says you're no longer entitled to that. Yet as a society, judge it so much. So this is the conversation we're having. And on that note, it gives me great pleasure to welcome back to Opinions, the revamped Opinions. Popo, I call her Popo, my girl, Gang. She also has a podcast with some wonderful ladies and friends of our podcast called Red Wine and Cigarettes. And be sure to check that out every Thursday evening, right?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. And that is on Facebook and on YouTube. So it streams live, but you can also get the recorded version of that. Popo, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Dude, let's jump straight into it, right? What's your experience been? Maybe just give context as well as to how old your child is and when you decided to give yourself permission to go back into the dating game.
Okay, my daughter is now 13. The first relationship I got into after having her was actually my child's father and I broke up when I was pregnant. So by the time I had my kid, I was already single mom.
Yeah.
I actually met someone on MySpace.
That shows how old you are.
I met someone on MySpace when she was 3 months old. He sent me a friend request, I remember. He says he thought he knew me, and it seemed feasible because I saw pictures of him with a lot of people who I knew, only to find that he was the cousin to a very close friend of mine, but he stayed in the States. So we were speaking on Gmail, MySpace, we're calling each other, those telecom calling cards for international calls.
Before there was WhatsApp.
No, there was no WhatsApp. Was there BBM? This is 2007. I don't think there was BBM.
No,
I definitely feel like we were out here on Google like this. There was like Google Chat or something. Anyway, so I then met him that December. My daughter was born April. So we started dating before we even met each other. So she was really young at the time, and I was quite okay with him meeting her, I think because she was a baby, Okay, that didn't work out, but she wasn't directly affected by that because it wasn't someone that she was exposed to a lot. He lived in the States. I think the first time I exposed my child to another man was in 2015 or 2016. And my child went through the breakup with me. Let me put it that way. She really bonded to this person. She went through the breakup with me. She saw him almost every day and really related to him like a father figure. I mean, her dad has always been in the picture, but he was a father figure. They loved each other. Like sometimes I felt like he was more her boyfriend than I was. You know what I mean? Like she'd want to hold his hand and, they had a very, very good relationship. So now after my child went through a breakup that was kind of via me, I think I then became a lot more careful about exposing her to a man I'm dating, but I can't say that I have it all figured out.
So okay, I hear that, right? And my immediate thought goes back to before going into that relationship. You obviously, I mean, went into it having been pregnant already, and you connected with the guy not having met them. What were your thoughts at that time? Because there must have been some huge anxieties.
Funny enough, no. I think anxiety comes with a lot of things that don't make sense to me. Let me explain that. I've seen like on certain forums where a person will ask a question like, when is the right time to disclose to your partner that you have a child? That's seriously confusing to me because my child is always on my lips. There's no way you will sit with me for 30 minutes and not know that I have a daughter. I'm the person who pulls out my phone and shows you a picture. I'm like, look how gorgeous she is, and she's so smart, and quite immediately. So I think that somehow the message has been communicated that when you have a child out of wedlock, it's something that you need to disclose and almost be apologetic about. I had none of that. But also the guy who I was speaking to, the one I met on MySpace, he was considerably older than me. He was 10 years older than me. And he was already a father to 2 kids. So maybe that's also, so maybe at the time I was 22, maybe if it had been a guy who was 22, it would have been a different navigation.
Sure.
But this guy was 32 and he was already a parent. So I guess that also just made it a lot easier to navigate for me. So no, I didn't really have anxiety around it, to be honest.
But what tends to happen is that I hear a lot of women highlighting the point that you're making, that it's almost as if it's this sin or the secret that they're supposed to either disclose up front or hide completely, right? What do you think causes that? Like, where the hell does that come from?
Hey, where does that come from? The church? I'll tell you why I say the church first. I mean, when I fell pregnant with my daughter, I was forced to, before I got her christened, at the time I still identified as Christian. That has since changed. But I was not able to get my daughter christened unless I went to this thing called corrective counseling at church. So what
Whoa.
I will share my experience of corrective counseling.
It's called
basically
counseling.
It's called corrective counseling. That's what it's called.
That's I gotta hear because it's the first time I'm hearing about it.
The first time honey, it ain't new.
Speak to me, honey.
Anyway, so I had to go to corrective counseling, and there was a lady at the time who went to church with me who had been impregnated by one of my family members. So she and I had to attend this corrective counseling.
That's
he did it.
Never. That is the.
So basically, the message I got in this class is I have sinned, I have fornicated and defiled myself, but because of God's mercy, he has now forgiven me. But I am tainted, and I should be grateful for any man who is going to accept me in this compromised state, right? So me being me, I called BS, whatever. I went to my classes, I christened my kid, but I was just like, I feel like, I don't know if this makes any sense to me, but I think that a lot of women don't question it. You know, the fact that you go home and you disclose that you're pregnant and everyone's traumatized, and then someone has to come and pay. Guys, can we engage with the word damage?
Ish.
Can we engage with the word damage? They have to come and pay damage
because we have to
your family.
Yeah.
Because somehow you are devalued, I guess. I don't know. You're no longer a virgin. And all goes back to just the value of virginity. And there's so many offshoot subjects, you know, that bring us to why women don't feel comfortable disclosing that they had a child within what was a failed relationship or rape, or, you know what I mean? I mean, the fact that they'll call it like a child of rape will be mistreated because they're a child of rape just were warped, were messed up. But I've always interrogated things and questioned things that don't immediately make sense to me. So I didn't subscribe to all of that, but not everyone is me. Not everyone is me. I am what you would call a rebel. I'm not a rebel. I'm a questioner. I'm going to ask. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's not being rebellious. Yeah. It's not. You know. It's not rebellion. I ask questions, and if something doesn't make sense to me, I'm going to question it. Yeah.
Now remind me again. After your first relationship, you know, as a mother, how long was the time between that and maybe the subsequent relationship?
Okay, I dated this guy in 2007. My next one was in 2009.
And then you got...
I initially said 2015, but I think I forgot the one that was in 2009. I was actually quite serious. I'm just like, this is awkward. It was 2009. It was 2009.
From the history books like that.
No, not like I don't know what happened, because that was actually I'd go as far as saying I've had two big loves in my life, and he was one of them. I don't know why it just.
I know clearly it was traumatic, so the mind was like, I'm going to store this.
It was extremely traumatic. I think maybe I suppressed things.
That's what's happening. It's suppression, deep suppression. But now, when you came out and you were like, okay, cool, let's do this again, right? Did you find that as a single woman or a single mom, the market was receptive? What were market conditions like? That's the best way I can answer it. Like when you would.
I've never had no problems.
It's just because
I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't.
Really?
Huh?
So you're saying you never had problems, or the people you were sort of like reaching out to or meeting up, the guys weren't like, yo, what's going on?
I literally, and it's a mix. It's a mix. I mean, two of the guys that I've dated since have not had kids. The one was considerably younger than me, a lot. Let's just say more than 5 years.
Yeah.
And he was cool with it. My most recent relationship, we were the same age, but he didn't have any kids. They've never had a problem, but I think it's because it's been quite clear to them that there's no room for them to have a problem, because it's not something I feel I need to apologize for, if you get me. And I completely respect someone choosing not to date a single parent, single mom or dad. I completely respect that, but I'm also completely unapologetic about it. Yeah. Completely unapologetic, you know, but that's your choice to make. So let me put it this way. There isn't a guy that's opted out of potentially being with me because I'm a single mom.
Mayday.
Oh my God.
Get ready.
Okay, so you know how it works. The drill is very simple.